Browso, it's his big night. He's a second baseman for the Rays. And he said, you know what? I'm not taking this crap. I'm mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore. But instead of getting violent, he decided to hit 2 home runs against the Yankees Wednesday night. And this all happened because of the melee that happened Tuesday night when Aroldis Chapman threw at Browso's head. Not cool. We'll never know if it was intentional or not. The mystery lives on. But Browso decided to take the high road and hit 2. Count them 2, Utah. Give me 2. 2 taters against the Yankees Wednesday night in a victory over New York. And I got to say, I'm all for this. I don't want to see the antiquated, outdated, old school way of, hey, we'll get our revenge by throwing at people and causing all this silliness based on the unwritten rules of baseball. No. Mike Browso said, I'm just going to beat you with my play. 2 home runs, a win, and he gets to go lay his head on the pillow at night and say, you know what? That was a great day. Kudos to you, Browso. There was other action happened Tuesday night. There was more double dongs, so it looks like we're going to be seeing more of Gary Busey on this show. Stay tuned for that. We're also going to talk about my insanely idiotic things. Yes, it's that time again. I'm going to rant on or say something ridiculous and absurd that probably won't come true. But hey, that's why they're called insanely idiotic things. I'll tell you what is not insanely idiotic, and that is Paul Mammino's new piece on rotofanatic.com. Good stuff going on there. He's talking about the influence of pitchers and hitters and how they can influence each other to get what they want. It's a really interesting article. It's all about how to influence pitchers from a hitter's perspective. So check that out. It's all based on his Stuff ERA, which is an excellent metric that he has created because he is just collecting data every day, and he redesigns it and packages it so you can understand it and help your fantasy team. Those are all good things, right? Who doesn't want their fantasy team to thrive? So check that out. Paul's a great guy. He knows baseball. He knows pitching. How about we start the show?
Take it easy, dude.
Oh, yeah.
I know that you will.
Yeah, well, the dude abides.
The dude abides. I don't know about you, but I take comfort in that.
I take comfort in double dongs and 3 homer games. That's what brings me satisfaction. And last night, there were several players that abided by the rules of fantasy baseball, maximizing your returns and giving you everything you want.
Utah, give me 2.
As we mentioned at the top of the telecast, Mike Browso cranked 2 bombs out of Yankee Stadium in the Bronx. When he plays, he mashes lefties, and Jordan Montgomery was taken to the cleaners in this game. Mike Browso is a fine, young, upstanding man who showed you that you don't have to use violence or old-school, dated tactics to get even.
Utah, give me 2.
You got it, Gary. Here's Tyler Naquin going to center and then to right field, golfing one out of here. That's a double dong night for Tyler Naquin. He's not somebody that you rely on day to day, and he's probably available on your waiver wire, though I'm sure the ads will increase due to this fun night. But don't expect long-term success from Tyler.
Utah, give me 2.
Well, you're going to have to settle for 3, because this is Adam Duvall going not once, not twice, but 3 times as he blasts off to dead center field. What a bummer if you're a Red Sox fan. But great news if you're a Braves fan, because this is back-to-back nights with 3 homer games, and it's the first time in history this has ever happened. Though Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth did it in back-to-back days, but it was through 4 games because there was double headers involved.
He loves it. He loves it.
But that's not what I'm gonna do.
Ah, yes, the never-ending game of leaving players on base. It just continues to be an epidemic across baseball, and I fear that it will never end. Anthony Santander left 7 Orioles on base. That's very frustrating. The Orioles have really fallen apart recently. Eddie Rosario and Nelson Cruz both left 5 Twins on apiece, even though they hammered the White Sox. And Jesus Aguilar has really cooled off since he started off the season red hot.
Return of the Mack. Return of the Mack. Come
That's right, the return of the Mac Daddies. That's such a dated 90s reference, I know. But hey, what can I say? I'm 40 years old. What do you expect? Anyways, we got great players back, and they're going to help your fantasy team now. And some of them you're probably aware of because they've been sitting in your IL spot on your bench. Josh Donaldson's a great example of that. He returned, and Wednesday night, he even drove in some runs. He hit a double, had a couple hits. Looks like he's healthy and ready to rock. That's good news. Hopefully that calf doesn't act up. Jay Bruce is back off the IL, hitting bombs for the Phillies. That's what they signed him to do. He's going to hit home runs in Citizens Bank Ballpark because that's what Jay Bruce does. Maybe he'll give you occasional steal here or there, but that's pretty much it. Also, Charlie Morton returned. He didn't pitch a lot. He only pitched a couple of innings, but he looked really good against the Yankees. And the cohesive nature of the Rays with the Mike Brauso situation and Aroldis Chapman and all the mess that happened the other night seems to have fired up Mr. Morton just a bit. He looked really good here, striking out 4 dudes. So I think there's positivity with the Charlie Morton situation, and maybe he will provide some decent value in the final few weeks of this season. So those are just a couple of guys that came back and are on the scene. They're here to help you. So make sure you check out the availability of these players because you never know when you're going to need fantasy help when you least expect it.
Put that coffee down. Coffee's for closers only.
And now it's time for this edition of Coffees for Closers Only. Today, Ty Buttrey definitely does not get coffee. He was a train wreck, including the entire Angels of Los Angeles, of California, of the United States bullpen. Not a good night for them against the Padres. Daniel Bard continues to be maybe the best story in baseball. He's got 4 out of 4 save opportunities converted, finishing off the Giants yesterday afternoon. I love this story. Best story of the season. Giovanni Gallegos took the loss against Cincinnati yesterday, giving up 2 walks and then the game-winning single to Joey Votto. However, Gallegos has the best stuff in that pen, and he is their closer, and he will rise to the top. Sometimes bad things happen to good pitchers, and, that's what happened yesterday. But stick with Gallegos as the closer in St. Louis. Trust me on this.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard. Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Yes, it's my insanely idiotic things. Insanely idiotic commentary from a silly host of a baseball video. That's what you're going to see right here. I do play fantasy baseball, and I comment on it from time to time. Doesn't mean I know everything. Doesn't mean I'll have the answers for your squad. But I do believe in what I'm saying. And even if it turns out wrong, I'm going to call my shot and hope for the best. So let's find out what ridiculous statements I have in store for you this week. Insanely idiotic thing number 1.
Paul DeJong and his teammate Brad Miller. Head-to-head showdown here. Paul DeJong will out-homer Brad Miller by the end of the season. Right now, Brad has an easy edge on him, 5-2. But something tells me that Paul DeJong is heating up. He just came off the COVID list recently and has been swinging a pretty good bat. Though Brad Miller has been swinging an incredibly hot bat, his is about to fade out soon. So mark my words, by the end of this very brief season, Brad Miller will have less home runs than Paul DeJong.
Insanely idiotic thing number 2.
Starling Marte, seen here crushing a home run against Toronto, VR's new team, will outperform Jonathan VR in every offensive category except stolen bases. Every single one. Hits, runs scored, home runs, RBI, OPS, weighted runs created plus. Any offensive stat you can think of, Starling Marte will outdo Jonathan VR. Only steals will be VR's advantage. At this point, VR has 9 steals to Marte's 5, so there's not even that big of a difference there. But Marte's already scored 25 runs compared to VR only scoring 10 runs this season. I think the difference between these two is quite large, and I'm going to verify it by the end of the season.
Insanely idiotic thing number 3.
Ryan Mountcastle, the new call-up for the Baltimore Orioles, a really fantastic prospect, by the way, who I love a lot. He will out-homer, RBI, and on-base percentage, whatever Chris Bryant does in this season. I'm calling it right now. Home runs, RBI, OBP will all be higher or better than what Chris Bryant has at the end of September 27th. Book it. Mark it down right now.
Insanely idiotic thing number 4.
Zach Gallen, who is becoming an elite starting pitcher in Major League Baseball, will outperform Walker Buehler. That's right, I said Walker Buehler of the Los Angeles Dodgers in the following expected stats by the end of season: ERA, batting average, and slugging. Expected ERA, expected batting average, and expected slugging. These are the current rankings of the two pitchers. Do you know which one is which? Well, if you guessed that the upper left is Walker Buehler, then you are wrong. That is incorrect. The answer is Walker Buehler is in the lower right. Now, things can change in the last 3 weeks or so, but Zach Gallen is pitching out of his mind, and it's dominance at every turn. He one-hit the Dodgers last night. That's not easy to do.
And now it's time for This Day in Fantasy History for September 3rd. This Day in Fantasy History for September 3rd has a cycle by a guy that you really probably don't remember, even though it was in 2011, just 9 years ago today. He was a backstop for the Milwaukee Brewers. Can you think of him? Yeah, Brewers fans out there? Any guesses? 2011? Remember that season? I think it was a pretty good one for the Brew Crew. Didn't quite work out, but they had high hopes. We also have Bryce Harper doing something interesting on this one. He did a unique thing that I'm going to show you right now 5 years ago on September 3rd, 2015. Diddle-loo, 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 diddle-loo.
On this date, 5 years ago, 2015, Bryce Harper walked 4 times. That's right, and he scored all 4 times. So that's a nice, healthy day, especially in a points league. 4 walks, 4 runs scored. Well, I'd be very satisfied with that. Bryce Harper had a monster year in 2015, and someday maybe he'll repeat it. On September 3rd, 2007, Ichiro Suzuki homered right there. That home run gave him his 200th hit for the 7th straight season. That put him in very rare company with Wee Willie Keeler and Wade Boggs. 7 straight seasons of 200 hits. Ichiro was so good, he could hit home runs anytime he wanted to, right? I miss him. And finally, George Kateris of the Milwaukee Brewers hit for the cycle in 2011. The relatively unheralded catcher made it happen that day, September 3rd, and was a day he'll never forget. It almost didn't happen, though. He already had a triple, and when he hit a ball off Tal's Hill in Houston at dead center, it bounced up and out of play, forcing him to have a ground rule double, although he surely would have had a triple.